Grace and peace, and welcome to our podcast for today. We thank the Lord for beginning of another week and another time to share with you on the last word. This is episode 53, and I'm Dennis Scoffin. As discussed last week, I shared with you that we will probably be doing approximately 60 episodes of this particular series of talks that I'm doing on my podcast. We'll be doing other talks. This won't be the last talk. But this particular subject matter that I'm dealing with, faith, family, and finances, we're only going to cover this for 60 episodes. I want you to share this on your social media platform. The response has been overwhelming coming in, not only from this country, but various countries that we've been broadcasting literally around the world. I don't even want to take time to call out so many countries that have been watching our podcast, been asking us questions about some of the things we've been talking about, and of course, setting some things on. I believe that there is a hunger and a thirsting, especially in these last times, about eschatology, the study of last things. And so we find ourselves constantly involved in that. I gave a kind of hint a little while ago, and I want to go back to that again. Warfare, worship, and the weather. I talked about how important these three things come together, these three W's. I talked about the spiritual warfare, of course, that's in the mind. I dealt with the fact that it is affecting where the church is, especially in their area of worship. And I also pointed out that the weather patterns in the United States now, because of judgment that has been reissued, has been crazy. You look at the present news now. We're praying for those in Mississippi and Alabama. We went through some terrible tornadoes this past. That there's been some unusual weather patterns, not only in this country, but literally around the world. That has been happening and been doing some things that involve. We've been taking this podcast to talk about Christian worldview. Remember, a worldview is what you think about the world or what you've been influenced to think about the world. All of us have a worldview, whether we understand it or not, or whether we label it or not. We do have a worldview. Our worldview is what we think of the world, how we view society. Of course, most of what we get comes from the outside, so we're inundated, as I've shared in many of the podcasts even prior to this, we're inundated with information, but not much available on truth. As that being said, we have to really look at a hard look at our faith, because our faith affects our family and our finances. Now, I'll get to that. I'm going to sum all of these 60 episodes up this week, because there's some things that we have to talk about and bringing some principles and things together as we talk about where faith lies, faith as a belief system, not faith as action, but faith as a foundation of what we believe, how we believe that, how we move into some areas of understanding that, so that we can get dynamically inspired by not only just the written word, but the living word of truth, the living word of truth that brings us into a dynamic understanding of where we are. God has a family. And in terms of looking at that family, we have to look at the spiritual warfare that goes on in our mind. Yes, in the unseen realm, there are demons, there are angels, there are entities that we have to look at in terms of that. We can't be obsessed with that. What we need to be obsessed with is what we are thinking, how it affects our thinking. And I've been talking a lot about that as we develop this whole idea of where we are in Christianity, because what the devil wants to do is grab our minds, mess up our thought pattern, put us to the place that we don't understand who we are, what we are, and then we lose grip on our family ties. And so we really don't have a handle of where we are. So what are we talking about in terms of family? We're not talking about traditionalism. We're talking about a model of an American family, a model of American family, or even a model of a Mideastern family, or any other type of ethnic family. We're talking about the family of God, the family of God. Where does the family of God fit into all of this? And how do we get to the point of navigating to this whole issue of God's family? Well, one thing I want to point out, again, what you talked about last week, we have to separate spiritual truth from natural facts. What is true? TRUE. Remember, I covered this one last week. I'm going to amplify it again so we can get it. Tested thinking leads to a reward system from embracing the truth that leads to undeniable favor that releases empowerment, then moving to our next level. What is our next level? That truth is in a person. It's in the person and work of Jesus Christ. And so when we understand the truth as opposed to a truth, we're now beginning to understand something about our spiritual warfare and where we find ourselves really grasping. It is our thinking that the devil wants. But we've been so involved with our emotions, what we feel and what we need. It's all about a good feeling that we haven't worried about thinking. We are not becoming a thinking church, just an enjoyable church. We cannot really get ourselves focused on just enjoyment as we get the family ties for our fidelity and our foundation, because that's where we are. We want to create a foundation that places us in this idea of where we are going so that we can strengthen our faith, begin to boil and understand where our family is, and getting our finances in order so we could go to say all of this rolls around in the spiritual warfare that is in your mind. Yes, demons are real. Yes, angels are real. But the real problem for us as believers, and even for those who are not believers, is to affect our thinking. As a man thinketh, so is he. Therefore, Paul talks about in Romans 12:2 that we be transformed by the renewing of our mind transformation. What does that mean? That we get the right thinking involved so that we're not thinking facts that come from the outside, but we're thinking spirit that comes from the inside. What the real issue is not philosophy. It's not all of the things that we gather from great thinkers of our day and time. It is whether we embrace the thinker of our faith, who is Jesus Christ. According to Hebrews 12:3, he is the author, or 11:3, he is the author and the finisher of our faith. So he is the beginning, Hebrews 12:3, and he is the ending of what we know about God. So as we approach this Palm Sunday experience and get the final drafting of who Jesus is, and that his main mission of coming into the world, we'll talk about some of that in terms of developing our faith, because our whole faith lies in the person and work of Jesus Christ. Because it had not been for him, Paul says, if Christ be not risen, then our hope is in vain. There's no reason to hope if we don't understand the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So I'm sort of setting the stage this week for us to move into some areas of understanding who we are, where we are, what we're going to find ourselves developing this week, so we can get to the person and work of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, who is the incarnate figure of God. All of the foundation of our family and our finances are tied into this element. So spiritual warfare, it is in our worship, and it is being seen in our weather. Let's deal with this some more. This is the last word for today.